Are you tired of getting all excited, learning something new, and being pumped and be like, oh, life is going to be different now. I'm going to be a different person because I know all of these new things. And then a few days go by and you go right back to the way you were before whatever you experienced happened. Well, that is how most of us go through life until something like a crisis comes up. And then we are faced with a choice where we get to wake up and do something different because it's like smack in our face, like this is not working. Hello, I am Karen Seltz. You are watching Irresistible You, Ignite Your Passion and Purpose. And if you are new to me, there are really just three things that I'd like you to know. The first one is that I am on a mission to empower 100,000 women to share their divine gifts with the world. I teach divine expression and leadership in all of its facets. The second thing is that I personally have overcome depression, anxiety, addiction, self-hatred, and even like addiction to the self-hatred. And if I can do it, I know you can too. There is hope. So if you are in any of those states, just know that it is possible for you to be happy. It is possible for you to be successful. And anything that you could possibly dream of, anything that's in your imagination is already meant for you. Take that in. If you can dream of it, it's already meant for you. And the third thing is that I consider my greatest superpower to be that of a divine mirror. And what I mean by that is I am able to get my own opinions out of the way, or my ego self, and really be present with people and see them through the eyes of the divine and reflect back to them who they are, their divine gifts, their purpose, what they're here for, until they can see it for themselves. And it's such a beautiful moment when that happens. You're like, okay, I finally get it. So stick with me. And we are going to dive into the top 3 habits that most successful high performers have. And I'm going to share with you some of my journey when it comes to these things, because I believe that stories are a way that we can really share who we are as people, what we've been through. And that is one way we can inspire others and make it seem possible for them. So I'm really grateful that you've joined. And I'm just really excited about this topic because I think many of us have experienced that phenomenon where we get excited about something and we're like, okay, this time it's going to be different. And then it doesn't take very long until we get back into our normal environment that we go back to those old habits that aren't creating a life that we're fired up about. And every single day is an opportunity for you to choose some new ways of being and set some new intentions. And it's really fascinating. I study this book called The Way of Mastery and also A Course in Miracles. And there's this concept in there called choose again. So if you don't like what you're experiencing at any moment, you can simply make a different choice. You can choose to perceive it differently. You can choose to perceive it through the lens of what lesson am I here to learn? And I love that. Like if I'm seeing something that's not causing me to be happy and joyful and lit up, I will often step back and say, okay, I can make a different choice here. What would lead me to be happy or to see this differently? So that's just one little tip I have for you. So let's dive in. Thank you for joining live. If you're here, I love it. So I believe the habit for me that sets me up for success is having a non-negotiable morning ritual. Now that can look like whatever it looks like. And for many people that are busy, I invite you to take a moment and really dive into that and get clear. What is the busyness for? Many of us grew up with the label of like, it's not a label. That's what I call it, human doing. And I'll give you an example. Like I only thought I was as good as my performance. So if I got a B, oh my gosh, I felt like such a loser. And it really, I allowed that to reflect my worth. Or, if my parents said to me, you didn't keep your room clean, there was like this implied message, a message that I derived from that. Like, you're not worthy, you're not good enough, you're not lovable, even. And so I kept measuring myself against these impossible standards because you can never do enough to feel worthy. You just can't. And I had this mentor, and she was such a gift in my life. And I'm going to give you a little background. I did this program, and it's based on a book. It was called Real Love. And it was about learning how to give and receive unconditional love. And I had a list of people that I could call, and they were complete strangers. I could call them anytime and just talk to them about what I was experiencing. Now, she wasn't getting anything out of this. This woman that was my mentor used to take my calls, and I was an active addict at the time. And she would say things to me like, there is not a single thing you can do to make yourself any more worthy. And there's not a single thing you could do to make yourself any less worthy. I'm like, what? Like, that was such a foreign concept to me because I was so used to earning love. So the reason I'm bringing this up is, if you are keeping yourself busy, is it feeding one of your old addictions to a state that you don't even like? Now, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about becoming addicted to these emotional states because emotions are chemicals, and they're like a shot of something to our body. And think about when you feel angry, like you're like, whoa, you feel powerful, right? You feel like you're right. And you could take somebody down, like, man, you're going down. I'm going to take you out. Well, that's a chemical, and it becomes addictive. And then we create these lives that we don't even like. And yet we're addicted and we become powerless to change anything. So I invite you to look at the busyness if that's something that you fall into, that type of behavior, and ask yourself, like, what am I trying to get here by being busy? Or what am I avoiding? That's a big one. Because in real love that I just mentioned, busyness is a running behavior. So it's running from your actual feelings so you don't have to face them, running from feeling empty, alone, afraid. So just look at that. And in my morning practice, I like to read something inspiring. So right now I'm reading this book. I love this book. It's so cool. It's called Dollars Flow to Me Easily by Richard Dotz. And I read it. This is my third time through. It's really simple. It's like 80 pages or something. And what he has us do is to focus on feeling good. That's it. Focus on feeling good. What does it feel like to feel abundant? What does it feel like to feel loved? And just be in that state. And it's so simple. And then I feel so happy. So for me, I'll just tell you what I do. Generally, I do a Dr. Joe Dispenza meditation. Now, those can be very long. If you know his work, they can be like an hour. So if you don't have time to meditate for an hour, meditate for 4 hours. That's an old Chinese proverb or something. It's not 4 hours, but it's like, if you don't have time to meditate for 5 minutes, meditate for 5 hours, something like that. Because the people that don't have time need it the most. And when I make time to meditate, to quiet all the external stuff that's coming in, all the things that I'm identifying with, I am so freaking happy. Now, who doesn't want to be happier? And it's like happy for no reason. Like, really, things that would have taken me out a year or two ago, I'm like, oh, I just see them through a different lens most of the time, like through the lens of love. Like, oh, that person must be really hurting in order to say something like that to another human being. And I don't take it personally. Whereas before I'd be like, it would trigger my old beliefs and stories. But the more time I spend in meditation, the more I'm able to just be loving, because I'm loving myself in that moment. And I'm connecting to something higher than me. I'm connecting to God, to the divine, becoming pure consciousness. And it is a beautiful, lovely place. It is like a warm embrace from the divine. One of the other practices that I absolutely love is I do this prayer, and it's 5 minutes. I just set a timer. I listen to some music. And on the inhale, it's I accept, in my head. I'm not saying it out loud. And on the exhale, the love of God. I accept the love of God. And that for me, when I first started doing it, I didn't feel like God could possibly love me. I just felt, because at the time I was active in my sex addiction. And I thought there's no way that God could love a person that's doing what I'm doing. I just felt like so dirty and so disgusting. And when I started doing that prayer or meditation, really, it was like my worthiness came back. It was restored. It's like, oh my gosh, God loves me no matter what. I've just been blocking it because I didn't feel worthy. So, and that's how it is for so much, like abundance, like it's all around us, yet we're blind to it unless we feel worthy of it. So it's just allowing yourself that quiet time to reflect on the truth. And the truth is not what you perceive with your senses. The truth is so much bigger than that. Yet our ego mind wants to come in and protect us. And for the ego, protection means anything that you haven't experienced before is not safe. So anything you want that's different than what you have, that you're going to have to stretch outside your comfort zone to become, the ego will come in and start to say, hey, if you do that, this is, you know what's going to happen. And it gives you all these logical reasons not to do it. And that's one of the ego's biggest tricks, is to parade as logic. And it sounds so convincing in our heads. So when that happens, here's something you can do. You can journal about it, because even just getting it onto a page, you can see, oh my gosh, that's so ridiculous that I was believing that. But in our heads, it makes so much sense to us. And like, yeah, oh yeah, that's totally true. Yes, of course. But when you get it out on paper or you call a friend, you're like, oh my gosh, that's so ridiculous. One of my other practices, I was talking about the calls we did in Real Love. By the time I left my second or third message for somebody, if nobody picked up, I had already worked it out. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I get it. And I could coach myself. But it was even doing the action, taking that action of doing something, like advocating for myself, asking for support. The moment you ask for support, what do you think your subconscious mind hears? It hears, oh my gosh, I'm worthy. I'm worthy of support. And then things open up to you that you would never have imagined before. They weren't available to you before, until you advocate for yourself, until you say, I am worthy of support. And I know people want to support me. So it's a really beautiful two-way street as well. And I talked about that last week or the week before. So develop a morning ritual, no matter what it is, and do not negotiate. I used to say to my kids, I do not negotiate with terrorists because I've never changed my mind with my kids. Like if I said no, never, ever, ever in the history of parenting did I ever go back on it, ever. And they know that. So if, in the store, if the kids are like, how can I have this? And I say no. I used to have, well, I have one daughter, I still have her. She would keep going. And I'd say, I would just stop where I was. And I'd look her right in the eye and I'd say, I'd say her name first. Have I ever changed my mind? And she would go, no. I'm like, so do you think it's going to help to keep asking me the same thing over and over? And she'd say, no. I'm like, okay, can we decide to have a good time instead? Okay. But I would have to stop and be present with her and remind her. And she would think back like, no, I guess not. And the only reason I was able to do that is because when I was getting my master's in psychology, I took this class. It was on building habits. And it was talking about different types of reinforcement. And the hardest habit to break, or the hardest addiction to break, is one that offers intermittent reinforcement. So like gambling, like you don't know when you're going to win. You know you're going to, but you don't know when it's coming. So you just keep, maybe it's the next one. Maybe it's the next one. So if parents give in to their kids after 20 times of saying no, it gives them so much fuel to keep going next time. Next time they'll go 100 times. So, and I learned that before I had kids. I'm like, okay, I'm never changing my mind. So that's really supported me. So even if you're a parent and you have been giving in, You can implement it. You can tell your kids, I know I've done this in the past and that hasn't supported you. So from now on, I will not, once I say no, it means no. So they will test you. Of course they will, for weeks. For weeks, they'll test you. But just remind them, like, I'm not going to change my mind. In the past, I did, and I'm not going to change my mind anymore. So, but it takes a while, but it's so worth it. If you had to give up like a couple weeks of sanity to have a lifetime, is it worth it? So develop a morning ritual because it will support you and it sets you up for success for the entire day. All right, my habit number 2 is it's having a clear vision. And many people don't know what their vision is. And it could be in every area of your life. So if you're an entrepreneur, you want a big vision, like a 1-year goal, for example, would be something good. You know, like I have a big goal, like I want to empower, or my intention, not even I want to, I'm committed to empowering 100,000 women to share their divine gifts with the world. Now that's a big vision, right? Like that might take me more than a year. It might take me a lifetime. I'm okay with that. One thing that I have found, like fairly recently, because I coached in this leadership program and everything was time bound, what I've discovered in my own life, when we make things time bound, it puts pressure on us and it causes us to contract. So now I'm like, I don't care how long it takes. I'm still committed to that vision. I don't care how it comes. I'm open to the universe and I'm trusting that as long as I keep putting one foot in front of the other and keep staying true to my values, my vision is done. It is done. And it's not up to me to figure out how or when. Now, many people will disagree with that. I'm okay with that. But try it. Just try it for a while. Like have a vision and don't put the pressure of by this date. Just take it off and see if that creates expansion in you. If it does, then go with it. You'll create it much quicker without the pressure, much quicker. So just play with that. Now, in order for your vision to have some legs or some teeth or, you know, some grit, some stick-to-itiveness, you get to go deeper and keep asking yourself, why is it important to me? And you get to keep going. Like, why is it important to me to inspire 100,000 women to share their gifts? Well, because I stayed small for a really long time and it was painful. And it did lead to depression, anxiety, and addiction because I didn't believe in myself. I didn't believe I had anything worthy of sharing. I didn't believe that anybody would want to listen to me. I believed the voices that I heard growing up. Like, who do you think you are? You think you're better than everybody else? Don't be too big for your britches. Like all those things. Or if I was too loud, I got hit. You know, like those things didn't really encourage me to share my voice. And also emotions, like in my house, emotions that were not completely level were not encouraged. So if I was too excited and happy, like, be quiet, I'm trying to watch the news, like that kind of thing. Or if I was crying, I'll give you something to cry about, like that kind of stuff. And many of us grew up in times where that was normal. That was normal parenting. So I am here to shine a light and say that everybody has a unique gift that only they can bring to the world. It is your dharma. It is your divine birthright to share it in the way that only you can. And that lights me up when I can give somebody a tip or a little tweak and they're like, okay, I'm scared, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to go live. And it doesn't have to be video. It could be anything. It could be writing. It could be art. It could be giving someone a hug. I mean, there are so many forms of expression. So it's just knowing that you are called to express your love and your gifts in a unique way. And then finding out why that's important to you. And then taking action, like what's one step I can take today? What's one step? You don't need to take all the steps in one day. Like that's not sustainable. If you think about, like my daughter, I used to run, I was training for an endurance race and I used to run and she would try to run with me every now and then. And I was at a distance pace. So I was running like 10-minute miles or something. And she would sprint. I'm like, you're not going to be able to do that for very long. It's like you have to pace yourself, right? So if I'm running a half marathon, I'm not going to run at a 200-meter pace. It's not sustainable, not for me at least, not that good. So pace yourself and set yourself up for success. I have this personality type. It's like the squirrel. It's called the promoter, where I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this, 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 and this. And then I'm like, well, that's too many. I'm not going to do any, right? So if you are like that, just pick one thing that will lead you toward just a little bit closer to your vision. So make a list of however many things you can think of and pick a scary one, or start with an easy one just to give yourself some success, because success builds upon success. And you can take those little steps that are going to turn into a big giant 10K or a half marathon or a marathon or whatever. But you don't run a marathon in one step or in one day. Well, yes, you do. But I wouldn't. It would take me a month to run a marathon. You know what I mean? Some of my metaphors don't work at all, but I have a lot of fun when they don't. I love them even more. And have fun. That's not one of the habits, but it's one of my habits. Like, have fun with everything you do. Everything you do. Like, if you're taking life seriously, know that the ego's got you, because the ego is very serious. It's very, very serious. It's got its glasses on, its clipboard. It's like analyzing everything. And your spirit is playful. It wants you to have fun and enjoy life. Come on. Like, we're all going to learn the same lessons. We can learn them kicking and screaming, or we can learn them by laughing. Because I think it's funny when I catch myself in something ridiculous, like thinking I'm right or thinking I'm the smartest person in the room. I'm like, okay, yeah, Karen, there you go again. Yep, you're so smart. Like, it's hilarious, right? It's that saying, like, if you're the smartest person in the room, find a new room. Because we all get to be lifelong learners and be curious. All right, number 3. This one is so important, and it's integrity. And how I define integrity is being honest with myself, honoring my word to myself and others, and doing what I say I'm going to do when I say I'm going to do it. And if I'm not going to honor a commitment, there's a tool called renegotiation. And I didn't know about this tool until I did this leadership program, but it's brilliant. I used to just like hide from people if I didn't honor my commitment. I didn't know I could renegotiate ahead of time. Now, here's the thing. You can't renegotiate afterward. Like, you have to renegotiate before. So if you know, like the moment you know you're not going to be able to honor a commitment, or if you commit to something and then you're like, ooh, that doesn't feel good. I wish I wouldn't have said that. Then tell them, like, you know what? My mouth was faster than my heart, and this just really doesn't feel in alignment for me. I apologize. I'm not going to be able to honor this commitment. And then you negotiate something else. You know, you don't just like drop it. You can, as long as you're clear with your communication, because that happens, especially if you're just learning to set boundaries. A lot of times we say yes to things that are not in alignment for us. So what I teach people is like an intermediate step, which is, instead of saying yes, 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 and then saying no, no, no to your dreams and to yourself, because you have spread yourself so thin that you don't have time for yourself, is to say, oh, thanks for asking me. Let me think about that. That's it. Oh, thanks for asking. Let me think about that. Even if it's to do something fun. And then after a while, you're going to check in with your body and say, okay, is this like a hell yes for me? Am I like expanding and falling forward? Or is it like I'm contracting? I'm like, ugh, you're already thinking of excuses to get out of it. Even a maybe is a people pleaser's no. A maybe is a people pleaser's no. A maybe is a no. Unless it's a hell yes, it is no. And I believe that we are not meant to sacrifice. That's not what we're here for. We're not meant to live a life of sacrifice. We are meant to be expansive and joyful and love everything. Because if you do things that you don't want to do, what happens? Well, for most of us, we get resentful and we're like, well, then you owe me because I did this thing I didn't want to do. And like, person's like, well, I didn't force you to do it. You said yes. Like, that's how I've always, like, not always, but in the last 5-10 years, I've operated that way, especially in romantic relationships. I'm like, I don't want you to do anything that you don't want to do. If I ask you to go somewhere, it's an invitation. You are welcome to say no if you don't want to do it. Please say no if you don't want to do it. I will not hold it against you. I will not punish you. I don't want any resentment. But most people don't think I'm serious when I say that. They're like, oh, she's just saying that. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not just saying it. And I will say no when I don't want to do things. So be prepared. Doesn't mean I don't care about you. It means it's not in alignment for me and I don't want to do it. I'm not going to. So integrity. I love this example because I believe it's very relatable. Well, hopefully I'm not the only one who does this. So many years ago, I would be in the habit, I would go to the freezer and I'd be like, oh, I'm going to get one bite of ice cream, just me. And I'd go to the freezer, I'd grab the container, I'd get a bite, I'd go sit on the couch, I'd eat the bite. And what would happen? I'd be like, oh, I want one more bite. So I get up, go get the container, get one more bite. And I did this over and over. And I probably had more than one bowl. Well, at least I got some exercise, right? In between. Well, what happens anytime you break an agreement with yourself? Your subconscious mind is the one with the clipboard taking notes. So when you make an agreement, either with yourself or someone else, after you've broken many agreements with yourself, your subconscious mind is like, sure, you're going to do it. You might as well not even try. Remember what happened with the ice cream? Just let yourself off the hook. It doesn't matter. What difference does it make? And you will not trust yourself anymore. You will know that you're full of crap. And other people will know you're full of crap because you're not going to honor your agreements. That is the quickest way to either degrade your self-confidence and self-trust or to build it. So when you start keeping those agreements with yourself, so now if I go to the freezer with my spoon and I say, I'm going to get one bite of ice cream, I check in with myself. I say, okay, do you really just want one bite? Will that satisfy you? And sometimes I'm like, nope, I'm going to get a little bowl. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, that's really all I want is one bite. So after I have that bite, no matter what, if everything in me is screaming, oh, I need another bite, I need another one, I'm like, nope, no, you're done. You said you only wanted one bite and that's all you're getting. So it builds. Then I know that when I say something, just like with my children, my word is gold. It's gold. Like I show up when I say I'm going to show up. And if I only say I'm going to have one bite of ice cream, I have one bite of ice cream. But then it just builds. Everything unfolds from there. Because if you can't trust yourself, your vision is not going to happen. So you have to start building that foundation of integrity first while you are dreaming in your vision and becoming the version of yourself that already has accomplished that vision. I mean, that's a topic for another day. But think about that. Like, what does that version of you do? Who does she be? What characteristics does she possess? And be her. Be her now. Play with some quantum physics. It's so much fun. And you can watch other episodes of that. I could tag them in the show notes if you're interested in that. Well, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to summarize our top 3 habits. The first one was a non-negotiable morning routine. So for me, that includes reading, prayer, meditation. Number 2, having a clear vision and knowing your why. And number 3, practicing integrity. And if you're not going to honor a commitment, renegotiate ahead of time. And if you don't make it, if you break your word, then clean it up. Like go to the person and say, oh my gosh, I screwed this up, and clear it. Be accountable for your actions. Thank you so much for watching Irresistible You, Ignite Your Passion and Purpose. I will see you right here next week. Thank you.